We did one 2 weeks ago, and the clips were horrendous.
They were just awful. We sometimes like we get really introspective on this podcast, and we like really try and be smart and like I don't know. We just try and make ourselves.
Well, the thing is, you could have a really good podcast episode that's just like not clippable for social media, and it's like there's like good long form content and good short form. You got to find the medium between both.
Yeah. So
is this a medium or is this?
This is gonna be.
Is this a good or bad?
This will be straight, depending on how
I think
heartfelt you are on Sony.
One, so.
It'll be interesting.
Oh, full on Sony.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Andre H Films on Instagram and my website. I'm a DP, colorist, and occasionally producer, and I do a lot of other things that aren't related to, the film industry, but
like, because I don't know these things.
Well, okay, so on the topic of podcast studios, I build a lot of studios.
Okay.
So that's been kind of a new thing that I've been doing is like full pipe grid, like rigging, truss, lighting, DMX, all that kind of stuff.
There you go.
Did not expect to, it wasn't on my bingo card for this year, but we've done like 3 so far, and we've got a lot more scheduled. So
sweet.
That kind of stuff is fun.
All right, so let's just jump into like how you got started, because I feel like a lot of our audience is like young people who like bought themselves a camera and are like trying to thug it out.
Or their parents bought them.
Yeah, or their parents bought them a camera and they're spoiled. And they aren't learning anything because they didn't start on a 50 mil or a kit lens. So how did you get started, and then what made you stumble down the path of becoming a Sony technician and a loser?
So I started, like every good Sony guy, started on Canon.
Amen.
And, Rebel T3i.
Come on, the Rebel series.
The GOAT.
T4i, T5i. I never got to like the 5D Mark II. The closest I got was like a 60D and then a 60, and I was like, this is it. This is it for me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I'm done being an artist.
Yeah.
It's time to make money.
Yeah.
Were you
exactly.
just doing like video or photo and video?
I wasn't doing too much photo. I was mostly just doing video. But
okay, interesting. Because we have this thing where we think that everyone starts on photo and then it's like, oh, wait, I need to do video as well. So you did kind of the opposite?
I did a little bit of photography, but it wasn't really the thing that I enjoyed doing.
Right.
Like I was a guy that had a camera and knew how to use it.
Okay.
But it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. Like I think I shot one wedding like photo, and it was horrible. Like it was terrible. Like it was like I deleted. Like I don't even want to know.
No way.
No, not then.
Okay.
Now. Deleted now.
I was like, oh my goodness.
It was delivered and it was fine.
We
but
gotta
like
redo
today, it's like I don't want this on my hard drives at all. Like,
oh
purge.
wow. Okay.
It was just bad. Just don't want that on my
yeah,
on me.
the aura, it just sinks into
It's
your
just-
drives
it's
and ruins
bad.
all your work.
100%.
It's like a virus.
100%. It is. It is like a virus. So, but I started doing video in high school, and I had my Rebel T5i in high school, and like I had this horrible cage. Like I mean, it was like a Frankenstein rig, like
ours.
No, it was like 30 inches long with like a shoulder pad and weights, and it was terrible.
On a T3i.
On a T3i, dude.
Man, I didn't know you could put weights on a T3i.
Well, I mean, like on the rig, and it was a whole thing.
Put 11 hot shoe mounts or cold shoes on top.
Yes,
man, that's the way to go.
It was awful, but that's what I did for like a lot of like sport highlight stuff, and like church highlights of camps and that kind of stuff. So did that in high school, and started doing all of the broadcast kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
And went to college.
That's the dark side.
That is the dark side.
Yeah.
Well, it's the dark side because you're like, there's money in this,
Yeah, it's so hard.
You're like, I want to be an artist.
I hate doing broadcast stuff, but then someone will call me and be like, you want to do broadcast stuff? Here's our budget. And I'm like,
exactly. Broadcast and live events.
I was like, I would have done this for a meal. And you're like, here's $1 billion. So
the soul-sucking corporate events that make you a lot of money. Like
when they make you
pay for your year.
Load out at the end, and you're like, oh, it's 2 a.m.
100%.
Diabolical.
I so wish that I was the guy that like flew in for the show and flew out after the show.
Right.
And like there are shows that I can be that guy, but I still am like loading a box truck.
Even today? Like even
now? I mean, because I love that side of things. Okay. My other background in like entertainment, starting really young in high school, was concerts. Like I would
He's our guy.
So yeah, like there was a venue in my hometown that was like a Christian concert venue, and they had like David Crowder and Mercy Me and like all of these like Christian bands. They'd come in all the time. So I got plugged in with them in high school. Like I was a sophomore in high school, and I was doing all the video directing and helping with that, and it was fun. But the loading in, loading out aspect of that with like their loading crew was so much fun to me. Like like loading out after a concert, and it's like 2 a.m. and it's raining, and it's like you're just like loading in like 18-wheelers like all night. Like that to me was like so. I felt alive.
Maybe I've gone soft.
Dude, I feel like our longest loading process was probably high school theater with like
literally
our 2 trucks.
Yeah, that's insane. Because I worked Gather 25 off of a recommendation of a friend. Dude, they're rigging like insane because they had Sydney Live.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I will never be the same after working on that production because, well, not only was it like a spiritual masterpiece of like everyone coming together and like every country being involved, but then on top of it, the amount of big brain like camera ops there, just genius from at every level. So that was hype.
Sydney Live is next level too.
Dude, I think that's
an incredible truck.
The best you can get or need.
100%.
Because like at some point it's like this is a broadcast. Like people are watching it on a 1080 TV. Like they're not. It's streaming on a website. You don't need to.
Exactly.
So that brings up an interesting point that I've been struggling with. Luke, I think, has 2 because we both want to get the R5C, and in a way it's because of some of the capabilities of like the codecs. But so when you deliver a video, are you always shooting at the highest level your camera can go, or are you kind of like, oh, I need to monitor my file sizes?
It depends on the scale of the video. So on most medium and small kind of productions, I'm going for the highest I possibly can.
Right.
On the really high stuff is when I need to like say, do I need to shoot 8.6K? Or can I get away with like 6K?
Right.
Or like, can I get away with 4K? If we're doing 3 cameras and they like 2 of them do 4K, but one of them does 8K, do I need to do the highest?
Yeah.
And those like really big projects are the ones that like your decision on day one could be the difference between like a 2 terabyte project file or like a 10 terabyte project file.
Exactly.
Before anything else happens. And
that is one thing I have to give to Sony is their file sizes, because working with like I had to go through, probably 50 videographers' stuff during Gather 25, and they were all on FX3s. So those file sizes were minuscule.
Yeah. Incredible.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Like, I think we only made 1.5 terabytes of content for the entire video.
Yeah.
Which
wild.
is nuts.
Yeah, and it's 422, like 10-bit.
Yeah.
Was it all in log? Were you grading?
It was log.
Cool.
So I didn't grade it.
Okay.
Someone else did. I was just kind of selecting everything and throwing it into the server for timeline errors. But man, it was honestly kind of a joy working with the Sony stuff. But yeah. But Luke, speaking of file sizes, you want to share that?
No, I can't even talk.
I need to hear
right
this.
Now. It's horrendous.
Is this one of those clickbait?
No.
Okay.
This is just a horrendous
this is
story.
A true
on my
story
part.
of pain.
So. The most creative people have like a really great system. Actually, I don't know. Do you think most creatives have a good organizational system?
I sure do.
Because I don't.
I had to wipe.
I do now, but I don't think most creatives do. I think creatives
I had to wipe
like
his entire computer last night because it was so bad.
So I am very much like, I keep everything on my desktop, and then when I need to, I'll move it
Not
to
even in folders. Not even in folders. He has
Just
a button that says images.
No.
You click it, and all the images come out.
Well, those are only exported images. Like raw images aren't folders.
No, that's devious.
But it's like, cause like. And then I love Finder, and if I need to find anything, I'm just remember what I called stuff. It's like I can always find anything I need to find.
It's because he doesn't date or time anything. It's just someone's name.
If anyone needs to find something on my laptop, they can't. But it's
Look
like I don't need to encrypt my hard drive.
They can find it.
They couldn't find it anyways. But anyway, but I did this for I've had this laptop for 6 years, like 2019. And it finally got to the point where like there's no way, and it was putting everything in iCloud automatically
because his disk space was so
it got to the point where I'd be editing a project in Premiere, and it would put that Premiere file in the iCloud and like take it off my computer while I was editing, and I was like, "This is horrendous."
He was like, "Why is my computer
media
so
managing
slow?"
on behalf of your like organizational skills.
You're like, stop. I was more talking about the SD card thing though.
What SD card thing?
Bro, what? When you lost all your photos this week?
Oh my gosh.
No.
That
this
too.
week?
Dude,
yes.
Okay, so I've never had this happen in a shoot ever, but I was doing corporate headshots for like, this law firm that I work at, and there's one of our attorneys like hates taking photos, and she was literally like came in early, she's like, get mine knocked out, and then we're done. So I did all of hers first, and then we're going through. I do everyone else's. I'm sitting down at the conference table afterwards after we did group shots, and they were like, someone wanted to see some like on the back of the screen, so I'm like scrolling through the back of the cameras, and somehow the SD card corrupted, and like as I'm scrolling on my dial, one by one, I just see them disappearing on the back of my screen, and like we had to redo the entire shoot. I had to go office by office and be like, dude, I'm so sorry, but like
at least you were still there.
That one lady was probably like,
she literally looked at me, she's like, you're kidding, right? Like someone put you up to this, and I was like, I promise I'm not kidding. I'd be like,
man,
that's something that I probably need to learn about.
Second time he's had problems.
Well, one time was an SSD, and that I think it was the computer's fault because I was editing on a laptop desktop that couldn't handle it. But this, I genuinely don't know what would cause an SD card to like
just die,
to do
just
that.
Go corrupt.
And it's SanDisk too. It's not even like it's.
I don't
like
know. I feel like I need to learn about like storage.
Is it an SD card that lives in that camera like exclusively? Or
No.
do you
No.
Okay.
But
that might be why.
Even then, he was formatting everything. Like
I formatted it before the shoot.
Yeah.
And it was literally like, and like I had showed people stuff throughout the entire shoot, like showing on the back, and then I was literally showing on the back, and I just watched them disappear, and I was like, this is the worst day of my life.
It's so bad.
And you can't do anything about it.
No,
Yeah.
you just watch.
You're
like
just watching
the
your work
pain.
dissipate.
And especially, I don't want to say this, but stuff that like is not that you. It's fine when it's something you can just redo super easily, but if it's something you either loved shooting or hated shooting.
Well, I'm super scared now because I have a wedding come like this weekend, and I'm like, dude, I literally threw that SD card away. I was like, I don't even care. Like, it's
Oh,
done.
yeah, it's gone.
And I was like, but I'm just so scared because like, obviously with headshots, it was easy. Like, not easy, but I could knock it out and like we redid it. But it's like, if you do a wedding that happens, you're toast. Like,
Yeah, no,
that's
you're
done.
getting sued.
You cannot reshoot that.
Okay, let's talk about some of your like DP work because this is we're attempting to write some short films.
Fun.
We've started writing. I've written some scripts. Luke's written
tight
one that
deadline. We have what?
Yeah,
The 27th. We have to have it submitted.
Okay, Luke is a little more ambitious than I am. I see things kind of. I like to say I think I see things kind of the way they are. Luke is like,
100%.
let's shoot for the moon. So
That's a good balance. You need to have both.
Yeah, he was like, hey, this music bed competition is coming up on March 31st. This was granted February like 17th or 20th. And he was like, dude, we should make a fire short film for this. We hadn't even started writing one. We'd never written one before. And he was like, let's just do this. So we're now approaching like the land of being DPs for ourselves.
Yeah.
And obviously like we shoot all the time. So it's not like we're lacking any like fundamental skill sets. But how did you kind of start as a DP and what was the point where you realized like, oh, I'm not a videographer anymore. Like now I've kind of ascended to a director of photography position where I'm more managing role and how do you pick lenses? Like I just it's such a far obscure world to us.
So I think I would say it's a misconception. There's probably DPs that would say that I'm wrong, but I think there's a misconception where people think that a DP is a videographer that's a better videographer. But I would say a DP kind of graduates from you're a camera guy to you're a lighting person.
Okay.
Like a director of photography, like a cinematographer, you are more like you are picking lighting, you're picking glass, you're shaping, you're seeing, but you're not really the camera guy.
Right.
Like I would even say a lot of sets you don't even have like, I mean, you may have a camera operator, but like sometimes it's like the DP and like the first AC and that's the combo. And the DP would still be behind the camera or operating it, but like his like all the work before they call action is what he's being paid to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'd say the moment that you start really paying attention to lighting, shaping lighting, and, you know, like figuring out what your look is between like hard and soft sources. And, I mean, you could dive so deep into it. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, we're such professionals right now, as you can see
100%.
from our set.
Yeah.
Like we definitely aren't using t-shirts to soften our boxes sometimes. So
You got to do what you got to do.
that's awesome. I mean, dude, I was
100%.
talking to a guy who you probably know him, but he was a gatherer, and I was like, hey man, like give me a rundown, like what separates like a good lighting guy from a bad lighting guy? And he was like, dude, it's 100% not money. You just go buy shower curtains and like know how to use them. And
I feel like
was
I know who you're
that's
talking
kind of
about.
valid.
That sounds like
It-
yeah, no.
It was
Mayo?
James Mayo. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, that was interesting. So when
That's
it comes to like being a DP, how did you start learning lighting? Was it like hands on, or was it more YouTube style, like understanding?
It was a mix of both. So when I went to college, I was studying the broadcast route, but I still really, from high school, I still really liked the, I love the look of a DSLR with a 50. And I hated the look. I was like, I spent 3 years in college just doing the like broadcast cameras, the broadcast lenses, and sports and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
So in college is when I would say I jump-started my career. Then I was shadowing three producers in particular that did stuff at DBU where I went. Like they did, their own projects that were shot there. And I was like, hey, can I tag along?
Right.
And so learning from them, they were all very intelligent when it came to lighting and cinematography with lighting. But I'd say following them is where I kind of started that transition in my life from just I want to shoot highlight videos and recaps to I want to understand lighting. The other huge source, and this is a plug, but Shane Hurlbutt.
Unintended or not?
No. Oh, unintended. The other huge source of inspiration for me was Shane Hurlbutt and his like Filmmakers Academy. And if you guys don't know him, you should look him up. Like he's like an insane DP. He's done a ton of stuff. And he basically, I think at the age of 50, decided I'm an ASC cinematographer, but I'm going to stop doing movies and films and TV shows, and I'm going to start creating courses to teach people lighting and cinematography. And so his stuff is where I learned a ton. And if you don't follow, I think it's Filmmakers Academy, you should. But Shane, I think, really is like the first person who on the internet, like he was the first YouTuber. He wasn't really a YouTuber, but he was the first guy that like really taught me.
Okay.
So,
there you go.
I
So
love him.
yeah, basically YouTube University. So
basically, yeah.
When it comes to, so you don't really shoot. I mean, you've shot one short film, I know, because with Michael. Have you? So you're mostly in the commercial kind of area. How does a good DP like separate himself from the rest of the pack in terms of? Because we always argue about this. I think if you're gonna go creative, you got to go all the way creative with your shots. He's like good, like 25% creative, 75% business. And how do you like separate yourself on like a commercial shoot as like being an artist versus, hey, I'm gonna go do the same thing on every shoot and play my part and be as professional as possible? And like, where does your creative freedom come in on those commercial shoots?
Well, I think a big part of that is what your role is on those shoots. So a lot of my commercial stuff, I'm producing and DPing it.
Okay.
Like there are some shoots where I'm just being hired by the agency or by the production company as a DP. And on those, I would say you have a lot more freedom to just kind of have a very unique look for that specific shoot. I'd say the commercial stuff and the corporate stuff nowadays is looking very different than it did 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, where now there's a push to making commercials look like films. Like they look like short films. They're very beautiful and artistic. And they're definitely not, just kind of the rinse and repeat that we saw like all throughout the 2000s.
Exactly.
And a lot of young DPs are kind of the ones that are pushing that and starting that movement. I'd say budget is another big thing. It's like, if I'm producing a commercial and clients like, hey, we have this fixed budget, there's a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm bringing everything that I own and not renting anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so when that happens, there's only so much you can do to make things look really different when you're using the same fixtures, the same camera, the same glass. And a lot of it can look very different because, again, you can shape light and make everything look very unique. But I'd say the budget and kind of what the production direction and the production design, those things have a huge impact on, how cinematic, for lack of a better term, how artistic and different do you want it to look.
He's hitting the buzzwords. I like this guy.
Cinematic.
He's going to help our SEO.
Oh, 100%.
So, like, in terms, you brought up lenses, you brought up shape and light, and you brought up cameras. Of the three of those, I mean, I think there's a pretty solid, I don't know if this is a misconception, but lenses like are the end all be all when it comes to making your look your look. Do you think that that's kind of true, or do you think it's more of a kind of trinity of the three?
I mean, the correct answer is that it's a trinity of the three. But I do think I don't think it's a balance. I think it's like I think your sensor is kind of maybe the bottom 20%. I'm gonna do my math wrong. Like
No, this is okay. It's going to add up to 130. That's all right.
20% I'd say is like what's the sensor, what's the brain like that's pulling in, pixels and doing a Bayer filter and throwing it into your NLE. And then above that you have maybe 40%. Where am I? 60.
You're at 60. You're doing good.
You got 40% above that. That's maybe your lighting, and then the other 40 above that. I did it.
Yeah.
The other 40 above that would be your glass. It's fascinating, even when I compare, a Sony G Master.
You're
50.
scaring me. You were pointing at our series. I was like, are you about to diss on them?
No. But even glass in similar categories like Sigma Art and Sony G Master, or like Zeiss and Sigma or whatever, even if you go on the Cine prime route, if you're looking at like Sigma primes and like CP3s or like Canon CNEs, you're going to have a lot of glass that looks really, really similar but has really minor characteristic differences.
Okay.
But those things, if you like really push into them, is what makes that glass the right pick for your job.
So do you err on the side of more clean and like sterile, or do you err on the side of like kind of creative?
I would say most of my work requires me to go a little bit more clean, corporate, and I don't like the word sterile.
That's just how I feel when I'm shooting with like when I'm
clinical.
shooting with L glass. I feel so sterile. Like I feel like
it's kind of dead.
I either go like 100% this is as clean as it can be, or I'm like, okay, let's literally use like my great grandpa's Minoltas.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that my preference is to go with lenses that have a lot more character, and that can mean a lot of things. And vintage, going old school with Minoltas is like a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Or like Canon FDs, like you can buy those on like
Okay.
eBay for like $50.
The Nikon, the vintage Nikon, I just gotta say the lenses are great. That like
I don't know. You said
I
Nikon.
hate Nikon, but
I said it what?
Oh boy.
so I'm glad we're in the same boat on something.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to kind of like Luke, I'll let you ask questions later. Don't worry.
I cannot wait.
We'll get the next break.
When it
My
comes
neck's
to
getting tired of looking.
oh
at you.
gosh, sorry. I'm surprised you're not like. When it comes to like camera bodies, you mentioned okay. I'm kind of getting into the world of Ari now. Or
Okay.
How do you say it? Ari? I say Ari.
I say Ari.
Okay, because it's Arnold and Richter.
Yeah.
So like
Ari.
R.
We're gonna say Ari.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the world of camera bodies, like what all have you worked with, and then if it came down to it, if you had to pick one body for the rest of your life, I mean, obviously, we can't all pick the Ari LF Mini.
I mean,
or we
dude,
can.
I don't know. I've got some horror stories with the Mini LF.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't it just come out though?
No, it's been out for 5 or 6 years.
Oh, okay. What did they just drop? They dropped like
They dropped an Area 35 recently. They dropped
Wow.
an Area 35, like the production version of it too.
So are you on the like I am bigger sensor the better, or are you like how do you feel about 35 millimeter?
I think that there are some cameras that are really strong with like Super 35, and other cameras where like it has it, but why even bother? So for example, like FX9 has the full frame 6K sensor of the Venice One.
Right.
Which is
what else do you need?
You don't need anything else. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And they discontinued that like 2 weeks ago. So you know.
What?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
'cause
Well,
it's
good
Sony.
thing I'm not switching to Sony.
Well, Sony's just hardcore pushing the FX6 and the FX3 and the Burano,
Which is
And-
working for them.
and they're doing the same thing that they did with the FS7, which is like, hey, let's release a really great production camera and then just kind of ghost everyone that bought it and then abandon it. But I mean, it's still really strong. But like, I would never use the Super 35 on my camera because it's not a good Super 35.
Okay.
I thought back in the day, like the C100 Mark, any of the marks, but the Mark 1, the C100 had a really good Super 35 sensor. Like the 1080 on that camera. Wait, was it Super 35 or was it full frame?
C100 Super 35.
It was Super 35.
Because I've looked.
Yeah. It was
I've
a
looked
really
at
strong,
getting like a cinema camera and all the like really, really good options. Then I see Super 35 and I'm like, ooh, like I don't know if I can step down from full frame.
Right, but like I mean, you can still pick up like an Alexa Mini.
Right.
That's Super 35 and it's going to look really good. Like cuz it's not really about the frame or the sensor size. It's like what glass are you going to put on it? How is it going to look? Like you can make a Super 35 sensor focal length look really close to full frame. Like you'll have a little bit of difference with like depth of field and just kind of the shallowness is kind of unique.
Yeah. But
as far as the story that you're telling, I would say that you could tell it on any sensor size. I think that the reason why you'd pick one over the other is more of a technical, standpoint.
Right.
I think less of an artistic standpoint, but more of a technical one.
100%. Yeah, I feel like I can't back down from full frame now. Like even
it's really hard to.
When it comes from even buying a fun camera, it's hard for me to.
But I will say this: primarily I'm shooting on Venice and FX9 and FX6. Very rarely am I shooting FX3. However, when I am shooting on an FX3 with those other cameras, I have a horrible time matching the FX3 of those cameras. However,
because the oranges.
I always find the FX3 when it's matching every single setting to the FX9 and the Venice, it feels like it was sharpened in post. Like it feels over sharpened and color, like with the same exact glass, the color, like there is a color shift and I don't remember exactly which way it goes, but there is a color shift and a saturation shift. However, if you swap that FX3 that I have on set matching the other cameras with an FX30, which is again Super 35,
and
it looks
those are great,
phenomenal. Like it match. Like I could put the same, obviously not the same lens, but the same kind of focal length to compare that with a 9 or that with a Venice, and I'm like, I can't really tell. Like I can dive in and figure out which one's which, but the 30 really surprised me.
Wow. Yeah, we shot on 30s, and it was a good experience. Like simplistic.
Yeah.
I would say.
Oh yeah. It
Which
just works.
Not always what I'm looking for, but in terms of what we were shooting, it was fine. So, Luke, do you have any questions? Because I feel like I'm hogging the ball here.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask. So, in terms of like film production wise, and like we just made this decision, and I'm pretty sure we chose wrong. I chose wrong. But if you were choosing between stabilizing a camera or like getting a better light, where would you put your money?
Are you saying stabilize a camera like put it on a like a gimbal or a
dual
no.
Steadicam.
Clearly haven't watched our podcast. We hate gimbals.
Okay. No gimbals.
No gimbals.
I don't either. I don't like them.
That's
like
they're so
unless
bad.
Unless it's like a Ronin 2 that's like properly rigged on a car, then it's or on a jib, then it's like fine.
Right.
Like if you're using it as a head,
jib, not handheld gimbal.
Correct.
So
it was. I'm a big Steadicam guy.
Nice. Yeah, it was a Steadicam, but with a dual arm on the fly cam, like vest or whatever. Because I've been carrying around my rig, and it's like I don't know actually how heavy it is. But like the last time I carried it around for 12 hours, like oh my gosh, like I'm so tired of carrying this. Like I want somebody to take the weight off. But I don't want a gimbal, and so I wanted to get the Amaran 300C, or I was looking at getting the Steadicam, and I ended up going with the Steadicam.
We're also like out of time.
What Steadicam did you get? Oh,
it's it's like a fly.
We'll have to get back into it.
Yeah,
it's the way it died. Thing I've ever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get it.
Do we want? Are we picking back up?
Well, let's pick up and then we'll get to it.
We're picking up at how much we hate gimbals.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the reason this is a terrible reason to hate gimbals, but the first piece of gear that I ever wasted money on was a gimbal, and it was I got a gimbal for my SL3, and then
it held like 6 pounds,
so I can literally hold. Yeah. It will never work on any camera I ever have, and I dropped like $500 on it, which is like so dumb.
What? It did match your aesthetic. I can't even lie. It had like a sick handle, like wooden and everything.
It was cool, but. Yeah, so it's like literally that it's been in my car for like months because like I never use it.
That's right.
I literally use it as like a paperweight in the back to hold stuff down.
That's facts.
And anyways, but also gimbal wise, I just feel like there's never a need because if I want to go handheld, then like that's great. Or if I want it to be really steady, a gimbal's still not going to do what I wanted it to do.
You don't like people think gimbal flexibility. No, No, I think it's
Gimbal is super limiting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
it's like I mean, and yeah. Sorry, go.
Well, my thing is like I was telling him like I'm a framing fiend, and all I care about is my framing, my headroom, and like how tight things are and how balanced things are, which is a real problem because when people are reframing your shots for different screens, aspect ratios, it causes a lot of trouble. So I've been having to slap myself in the wrist and be like, shoot wider. But gimbals, everything is wrong. It just feels wrong.
And it's like anytime that like one of my guys are using a gimbal, I'm like they're setting it down and just going handheld and getting the shot that they wanted to get. Yeah. Like
there
if
you
you
go.
want like a big like sweeping shot of the room, like sure, put the gimbal on.
Or a
for everything
hyperlapse,
else.
sick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, even like modern affordable gimbals, like people aren't buying like Ronin 2s, they're buying like DJI like RS3 Pros or whatever,
Right.
and it's hard to adapt those to anything that would resemble like a professional rig too. So
The only time I've seen a gimbal and I've really liked the shots is somebody put, I think, a 70-300, 70-200, or 300 something huge on a gimbal and shot a concert with it.
I saw that.
Bro,
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
You know exactly
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm talking about.
yeah, I've seen that.
And that clip was insane. But other than that, that's the only redeemable quality and the exception.
But that
proves
was
the
one
rule.
shot.
Yeah.
Like he probably took the camera off the gimbal and got the rest of his coverage. Because like
Exactly,
besides
yeah.
that one shot, it's like, great. Now what are you gonna do?
And when it comes to what we do, you nailed it on the head with. A lot of times we're bringing our own gear. We take everything we own and we bring it to a shoot, and that's what people pay us for, and that's why they hire us is because we have our own stuff.
Yeah.
A gimbal's just gonna weigh you down. Like we don't have vans, we don't have Tahoes. I drive a Honda Civic. I don't have room for extra little stuff.
Well, my purchase is definitely going to be weighing me down because I ended up getting the.
But not your back, because I'm gonna have the back of a
My hip,
50-year-old
yeah.
when I'm 30, and
For
you're gonna
real.
have the back of a 16-year-old.
So I got the I think it's called like the Flycam Red King Steady Cam, and then I got like the Galaxy Dual Arm vest
So
thing.
basically, it's the nerds. Have you ever seen that guy who shoots weddings and he's just like goated, and he has like the huge chest rig and the camera, and you can like flip it around and like spin it. That's what he got.
Literally, but it's
That's
literally.
sick.
I'm gonna be trying it. I got it shipped to Nashville, so it's gonna get there tomorrow, and I'm shooting on it the next day. So literally, it's gonna be like first time experience. I feel like I'm gonna like use it for like an hour and be like, all right, I'm not good enough with this. I'm just gonna go handheld.
Right,
So-
which is fair because for a wedding you need to know your limits. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
let's be
But
real.
anyways, but my debate was because I was really debating getting that or getting like another bigger light, either like the 600D or the 300C Amaran. And I ended up obviously going with the Steadicam. But I'm curious to think what you would think is more important for a production wise.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're shooting a lot of weddings and doing a lot of corporate events, probably not the light.
Right.
But like if you're trying to do a whole short film in the next month, you
That's
probably
what-
should have bought the
That's
light.
what-
That was
You
our
yeah,
probably
that
should've
was
got
my
the light.
issue. Because I was thinking that like obviously we don't really need that steady footage for film, but I kind of what I envisioned for ours, I did want steady footage.
Right. Well, that's for your script.
But also we really need that one big light outside the window, and these aren't gonna cut
we
that.
kind of did ourselves dirty. But you live and learn, and honestly,
lens
we
rentals.
just book more
That's
shoots.
true.
Just be better, you know.
100%, honestly.
Just be better.
Yeah, just get better. That's what I used
the
to
motto.
always say when I was climbing. If I couldn't do a route, it's just because I'm not strong enough. I'd be a better climber. Just go up. So.
Just don't suck.
Yeah, literally. That's okay. That is the advice I've been given to somebody because he's so nervous about messing things up. I'm like, literally, just do it right. And he's like, oh wait, that actually.
I don't
makes
think that's
sense.
helpful.
Because he's not. Well, he's not lacking in skill.
Yeah.
He's just anxious about messing things up.
Mm.
And I'm like, then
Yeah.
just do it correctly.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing
out of your
wrong.
head.
Like, literally. Okay, now you guys can flame me. Basically, this is the predicament.
So I was
Go
explaining to him that Cort has got these new Siri. I think it's Siru. You say Siri lenses.
I've heard Suri.
that sounds
I've
right.
heard
Something
like
like that.
three.
It's like
different things. I don't know.
Japanese or something,
I don't know
so
how to
I
say
thought
it.
it was like Siri, but like you say it fast. You know, like Siri.
Hey Siri.
Yeah.
So I've been watching like seeing like stuff that Cort's been putting out, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I remembered like Cort doesn't have a monitor, and so I was like, dude, how are you shooting this? He's like, oh, like I'm just like
I
just
literally was
nail
just like,
focus.
I'm just him.
Oh.
Like he was asking me because we shot together for like a event, and he had his monitor, and I was like the entire event. He was like, how on earth are you nailing focus on these? And I was like, you just have to be better. Like you just have to be good, because if you limit yourself so much by gear, then eventually
Respectfully, a monitor is not limiting yourself.
No, it's not.
It's a blessing, dude.
no, but like what if I can't afford a monitor? They're expensive, bro.
Not anymore. You can get like
They're
a
some
Shinobi
affordable,
for like
yeah.
$100.
Okay, they did actually just drop the Shinobi, and it's $200. They dropped a new Shinobi, and it looks
Bro.
fire, and it has
No,
D-squeeze.
for a director's monitor, it'd be perfect.
But my
Also,
thing is, I'm kind
just
of a
get
buy
a camera with D-squeeze too. Get a better camera.
He got you.
I'm saving for a house. I'm about to get married.
Those are important too.
I need money. My fiance, I'm like telling her all the time. I'm like, you have no idea how much self-control that I'm having by not buying an R5C.
100%.
It's hard.
I put it on my
Yeah.
wedding registry. I think I've told you all this, and because even if no one buys it for me, I get 20% off. So
Yeah, on Amazon.
Hey.
That's a life hack.
Yeah.
So
Dude.
Just
literally,
get married.
we're gonna put like
Oh my
I'm gonna put like an Ari Alexa like cook lenses on my thing, and then get 20% off.
Can you just like do a wedding registry on Amazon without proving that you're getting married?
I don't know.
I think
they
you
Like,
probably
is that a-
can.
They might require
You
a
could do.
certificate.
You could.
Bro.
Well, marriage fraud is super legal and like a felony. So, because I know people. Well, I don't know people, but
Good to know.
I know people who know people who've done marriage fraud for insurance reasons.
Oh.
Super
Oh.
legal, like felony levels.
I think that's different than getting like an Amaran 300C.
20% off, you know?
Well, then, so I'm literally gonna have a section on my Morgan. You must approve this on my Amazon registry that's like, do not buy. This is like a joke for me, or wink, wink. Do buy this because I feel like there's gonna be someone at my wedding who's like, here's $500 for a camera,
Come on.
and I'm gonna pee my pants and jump for joy.
Yeah, I told Skylar, I was like, buy us a couch, buy me a camera. Let's go camera.
That's
you know?
what,
Yeah.
well, that's how I knew. I was like, okay, I'd already proposed to Morgan, but at one point she was like, why don't you just buy that camera you've been talking about for months?
Yes,
And
bro.
I was like, oh my gosh.
She's the one.
Exactly. And when
So
she,
you know.
when she and she is in the Amazon right now, coming home from the Amazon, and she was like, "Do you want me to take your camera with you and get shots?" And I was like, "Yes," but also no, because
Yeah, don't touch it.
security risk. Yeah. Well, I gave her my SL2, not my Leica. I don't have a Leica, but
Okay.
there's a Leica SL2.
Ah.
I
Okay.
gave her the Rebel SL2.
Ah. Oof.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So, rip to her.
Yeah,
Okay.
seriously.
Anyways, should we hop into? Okay, I kind of want to ask some burning questions that I've been struggling with, as in, like, how do you treat your gear? Because I treat mine really well. Luke treats his really bad, and there's like a
It's a
line
good combo.
to everything. Like, I'm like, okay, this is my
Like
tool.
just being rough with it,
well.
or
I see things as tools, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have this for the rest
Like,
of my life.
This the battery Cort would never let that just hang there. I'm just like, you know what? It'll be fine.
Like, what do you do? You know?
Okay, so I want my gear to make me as much money as possible,
Amen.
and so
I'll allow it.
I mean, when I'm producing, you know, all of my shoots, and I mean, there's line items for everything that I'm bringing.
Right.
I need that stuff to continue making money, and so I need to keep track of it and make sure that it's like functional. Also, I rent a lot of stuff out, and I don't want to give somebody like, you know, like my 600C, and they're like, hey, like the head cable is like fraying and the light is like shorting out, because that just looks bad on, like, they look really bad and I look really bad. And
Yeah. Well, you know what they say. It's a
What do they
rental.
say?
Don't be gentle. I think that's more of a skiing thing.
yeah,
Because
I think
I-
that is a scheme.
I just went to Competitive Cameras to rent like photo lights,
uh-huh.
and I didn't realize like you like are supposed to have like good store credit with them before like the way they let you rent, or at least they're
Really?
putting this policy in place now.
Wow.
Because I walked in and they were like, "Have you bought with us before?" And I was like, "Yeah." But like I buy all my stuff used off like KEH. The only thing I've ever bought there was like a $200 flash because I was in it. It was the only I needed the day of, and they were like, "Oh, like you just like." Well, usually like when we rent stuff out, like we like want people to have like more credit with us. I was like, dude, like I promise, like it'll be fine. I'm renting lights, and they let me do it. But I was like, I guess in the future I need to buy from them. But
I guess so.
No, that's a scam. Don't give them.
I don't know.
Just
Like
go to
I don't.
Lens
I'm
Rentals.
not like because that's not true. I also bought something else from them. It was the Atomos for the SSD reader for the Ninja.
Yeah, $70.
and
Biggest
it
scam
ju-
of your life.
I think because then I bought a $10 cheap one off
he
Amazon.
bought a SATA connector to
Yeah.
USB-C, $70.
$70 because
Was it
just
Atomos?
because- yes.
Yes.
And from Competitive Cameras.
What are you doing, Atomos?
And but then I
Come
didn't
on.
buy the Ninja SSD because it's like $500 and I can get the same terabyte for like Western Digital.
Was it
for-
Angel Bird or whatever?
Yeah.
It's Angel Bird.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a scam too. Dude, I have
really?
like
Angelbird CFast Express cards, like, legit.
no. I mean, it's all good stuff, but like you don't need Angel Bird. Like I have like a 10-year-old SanDisk, it's like probably the first like SSD, like 2.5 inch
on an
that like the first one that came off the conveyor belt is what I have in my Shogun 7, and I'm recording like 4 cameras, like ISOs, program feed, and it's a champ.
This SD card has probably had 50 plus terabytes run through it.
The life of it. It's
I'll show you after the paint on the it's rubbed off.
Like you don't know what size it is. It's like Sharpied on.
Yes.
Is it like a 64 gig?
It's a Sony Tough card. That's
it
why
is?
It's so good. Yeah. The
Sony Tough cards are expensive, but I think that they're
so
solid.
worth
they're
it.
So good.
And now with Western Digital, the demise of Western Digital.
I will never. Okay, like except for that one Western Digital, I don't think I'll buy it because they ruined that other shoot for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been fighting battles.
The amount of footage that I've had corrupt like over the past year has been horrendous because I've never had it happen before, and I feel like I need to like go back to college and learn like how a piece of data is actually. I actually couldn't even begin to tell you like how data like is actually stored.
I can teach you.
Like just ones and zeros, bro.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand
the difference
that at all.
between a hard drive and an SSD.
I do now.
And he's been wondering why his playback is so slow and doesn't work. So
yeah, I know a guy that does this professionally, and he like is serious, but he's got like probably 100 terabytes at home and like archival storage, and it's all Western Digital My Books. Like just like a metal shelf of just every project is like a 500 gig.
That literally sounds like the worst thing
It's
ever.
horrible. Like,
Yeah,
and it's all
so
it's
bad.
all like USB 2.0. Like it's it's atrocious.
Oh my gosh, that's like
So,
might
don't be
as well
that guy.
switch to Blu-ray, dude. What?
Yeah, might as well store it on CDs.
Literally, dude, that's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
feel
don't be
like
that guy.
that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, you just like shiver.
Yes,
It's like
that literally freaks me
I
out.
gave you the
'Cause
goosebumps.
okay, in a way, he's doing the right thing because he's like
he's not doing the right thing.
no.
What?
For redundancy, bro's
yeah.
running like RAID 25 essentially.
He only has one copy of it.
Oh, never mind.
No,
I take back everything.
It's
that I
RAID
just
0, and it's on a metal shelf, and there's only one copy of
said.
it.
Fun fact, Luke. Do you know what RAID is?
No.
Okay, we're gonna leave it there then.
All right,
Bro, this is how much
we'll be back.
I literally spent 11 hours yesterday fixing his computer because it was like demolished by his filing system. He had 800 gigabytes on a 1 terabyte hard drive of system data, just completely grayed out on Apple like filing system. So
Who even knows what system data is? Like, come on.
I called Apple. He was like, "Bro, I can't help you." I was like, "All right, I got you." And I did it all myself.
It's like there's this folder called System 32, and it's really big. I'm gonna delete it.
Well, no. One time I went through my system data on like a super old Mac. Fortnite was 90 gigabytes.
Oh my
I was
goodness!
like, what in the world? Okay, we need to get off Fortnite and start talking about cameras. Everyone's gonna tune out. So, in the world of camera bodies, do you like the newest stuff, or is there like an old camera that you hold true and dear?
Ooh. Okay, so I really like the Sony F55. The Sony
nothing about
F55 is like, so the F55 was the Venice before the Venice.
Okay.
It's probably, I don't know, 15 years old, 20 years old, but it slaps. Like the color science on it is, if you pair it with the right glass and if you're shooting the right project, it looks really good.
What's kind of the like characteristics of it?
I mean, it's a Super 35 sensor.
Just kidding.
Womp womp. But it's really punchy. Like its color is really punchy.
Really?
And so if you're going, I mean, it can do S-Log3 and all that kind of stuff, but like it grades punch really, really easily. Whereas like I feel like a lot of other cameras that of that time period were, whenever you'd grade them punchy, they would just destroy. Like the shadows would just be like gone.
Our punch, we can't do punch on the R6.
There's no punch.
It's just
Is it 420?
it's 422.
It's 422.
Yeah, but when I do like a punch grade on it, like that
Yeah,
style,
it just it destroys itself. Yeah.
it's just kind of like it kind of looks.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I
but
also really like the Amira. Like the Area Amira is such a beast of a camera. Like it's so large, but I mean that's kind of like
that's Aries' thing.
that's Aries' thing is like yeah.
I've been
But I mean
watching
like
a lot.
but I mean the mini is really well sized. It's still heavy.
Oh, 100%. Like I'm talking back to like the whatever it is, like the BL, like the 35 millimeter BL.
Oh, like BL mount.
Yeah, original film cameras. Like,
Yes.
Like when it comes to
Like
longevity.
XT.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to longevity, you cannot be airy. Like
Yes.
100%.
100%. And it's funny. I don't do a lot of 35 or 65 millimeter film, but I have a lot of colleagues that do. And
What? Wait, 65 millimeter? Like movie?
well, that's
I'm
that's
so
old school.
jealous.
But I don't really mess around with the film stuff. I'd love to. I don't really have
A budget?
I don't really have a mentor to guide me through that because I never learned that. But
Right.
I have colleagues that are younger than me that have been doing it for 5 years, which is like awesome. But what's really interesting is that all of them, almost universally, when they're doing their scouts, they are taking their Fuji XT5s or whatever, and they're using that to kind of see like where lighting is gonna be, like just from a film process like conversion. They're using that on their scouts like one would use a light meter on a scout because they like those cameras are replicating film so well.
So like,
that-
did they go all the way down to like using it to pick their film stock, or just as kind of light meter?
I
'Cause that's
think
impressive.
they're kind of using it as a light meter, as just to kind of see like what it's going to look like when it's actually shot on film.
Wow.
Whereas like you couldn't really take like like an A7 or whatever and do that and it'd be the same way.
Heck no.
So it's
If
fascinating.
that's not
like,
the biggest Fuji plug we'll ever have on this channel, that's awesome.
I'm excited with what Fuji's doing with their new cinema body. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I haven't.
It's kind of like an FX6, FX9 sized camera, but Fujifilm is coming out with a.
What mount? Is it L?
I think so. It's either L or it's PL, but it's.
Shoot.
I mean, it looks like an in between FX6 and 9 size cinema body, but it's kind of. I think it's going to be priced similar to those FX cameras.
Dang.
So
I mean,
I'm excited
that
for
might
that.
be the move. I've been looking like, it's hard not to just run to Blackmagic for me sometimes.
Dude,
like the Pixis 6K. How do
Yeah.
you?
I mean, okay.
Let's get into it. It's a hot take time, man.
I don't really like Blackmagic. I know a lot of people like Blackmagic. It's priced really well.
Very well.
You get a lot of pixels for what you're paying, and I understand that. Like, I can see how that's. I mean, it's the same thing with like the church world. It's like every church went to Blackmagic for all of their video systems because it's like you get so much for
They see
very
the
little
8K,
dollars.
they see the 12K,
Yeah,
and they're like,
100%.
what?
Yeah, 100%. But it's kind of like what we were talking about before. You can have a really well-performing 6K camera that doesn't like actually look good in 6K, but it looks really good in 4K.
When it comes to the color science?
When it
and
comes to the
everything?
color science,
Okay.
like again, going back to like our C100, like it looks really good. Like the C100 looks really good when you shoot it in 1080 only. Well, actually, the C100 was
Yeah, I can't
it
even
was
do.
1080.
It's
Yeah,
only
okay, sorry,
1080,
but
yeah.
yeah, compared to like when the 300 came out, the C100's like 1080 was like phenomenal. And I would even say like the FX6 and the FX9. I would never use their Super 35, even though it's there, because you're getting such a like cropped in, like literally like a zoomed in center portion of your sensor frame.
Right.
And it's like your signal to noise ratio goes like through the roof.
Oh,
and
gosh.
it's not good. And I feel that way with Blackmagic, but accelerated.
That makes sense. It's hard. What I mean is it's hard for me to see those specs and be like, oh, but then I watch, there's a guy called Jake Hayden on YouTube who he reviews basically every single camera under the sun and mainly rocks the like Ursa Mini G2 and like all those. And I watch his footage back and I'm like, dang, that's not what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yep.
And well, especially when it comes to the short film world, like R5C, FX3, and like RE, Alexa 35 or whatever, like any of those three, you're going to absolutely cook with every single time. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
But what drew you away from Canon and into Sony? Because this will be
So what drew me from Canon to Sony was it was the A7S Mark II, or maybe the Mark I, and it wasn't really the color science of it. Well, the Mark I was A7.
I'm just glad that you know
S-Log
that
2.
the color science didn't drag you to
no.
it.
The A7S Mark II, when they introduced S-Log 3 and S-Gamma 3 Cine, that was a lot better. Like you could make that look a lot better, but it still wasn't exactly what like Canon was still doing. Canon wasn't looking great from a sensor perspective, but from a color
True,
science
that's
perspective,
true.
it was really good. But Sony sensors were like phenomenal. And so the thing that drove me to Sony was the internal 5-axis stabilizing sensor. That's insane. Like you take the lens
Leading
off,
edge at that time.
yeah,
100%.
and just the ability to shoot in the dark.
Yeah.
And for having done, like, especially early on, I was doing a lot of like, you know, concerts and recaps and events and, you know, whatever, and that kind of stuff. It's like you have no idea what situation you're going to be in, like, you know, when the lights go out and you're trying to catch an audience reaction and it's pitch black.
You can't do anything.
And I can go to like, you know, 150,000 ISO and like clean it up and it looks good.
Yeah.
So that's what got me into Sony, and I like roughed it through the A7S phase. I bought an A7S Mark II and I used it for a long time, but I was really happy to sell it.
There you
But
go.
the FS7 is kind of the camera that really, like, that's the camera where I really started to create stuff with. So.
Sweet. And like, how is the experience of like going from like a mirrorless DSLR to like a cinema camera? Like, how did that feel? And then, like, what do you say to all the people who are like, they feel like that's limiting them, but it, you know, it's not actually limiting them. It's just they aren't going out and creating stuff.
Yeah, I would say that there definitely is a quality bump. Like you definitely notice when you go from like a mirrorless or a DSLR to even like I would call an FX6 like a small cine body. But whenever you go to like that style of body, the picture will look better. Like like the quality of your image will look better because even if the sensor size is the same, you know, 35 millimeter sensor full frame, or if it's bigger, if it's open gate or whatever, it's still like there's so much better processing behind it. Whether it's oversampling or just a better brain, that like you will have better results. Now it doesn't like that's not like kind of your, you know, get out of jail free card. Like you still have to do the work and be better at lighting and
know your settings
and
too.
composition and know your settings 100%. But yeah, those cameras, like the cinema body style, definitely kind of gives you a little bit of like a confidence boost because you're like, wow, if like with the right tools, I can do things that are a little bit better.
I have 2 SDI ports and an XLR out. Like, thank goodness.
One of them doesn't work,
right?
Because it's a Sony.
Dang, and because you did the turn off program backwards.
Yeah.
The protocol.
Boo. But yeah, I mean, every camera is gonna like a good cinematographer. I'm not calling myself a good cinematographer. I'm talking about other people. Other good cinematographers can make like an Arri or a Sony or a Red or whatever. Like they can make it look really, really good because the sensor is just such a small part of it. You know, like your glass is going to be a lot. I mean, we didn't even, in our 40%, we didn't even talk about color, like color grading, but that's such a huge part of like your tone.
That's become
and your
a big
mood
thing,
and all that kind of
like
stuff.
a big trend on TikTok is people just flexing their color grading because so many people right now are putting out absolutely horrible color grading.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're doing it right in any way. We've seen the comments. But like, oh my goodness, the amount of, if you go on TikTok tonight, I don't know if you have it. I don't know if you're
I'm gonna have to
liberal.
reinstall it.
Yeah,
But I don't know
but
if you can anymore. If you don't have it, I don't
no,
think
it's
you can
back
download
on
Really?
the App Store.
it. It won't let me download it.
Oh,
Hold up.
what in the world? But if you look up hashtag color grading, dude, on there,
no.
just like 15-year-olds.
Is it good or is it bad?
so bad?
Okay.
But
good.
then there's
Cannot
like
wait.
there's like some dudes who'll be like, you call that color grading? Watch this, and then they throw out the most, like the highest level color grading you can
100%.
see, which is just beautiful to watch.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah.
I was
go
gonna
for it.
say, like, at what point do you think people are, like, I feel like my story into getting into this part of the industry is different than everybody else's. At what point do you think people are starting to pick other roles that aren't DP? Because like I feel like I kind of went down that road because I was also producing all of my stuff, and so I kind of had to be the guy behind the camera and doing the lighting and doing the sound and everything. But if I were to start over, I feel like there are other departments in the film industry that I would have liked to touch base on, but I just never got a chance. I was never exposed to it.
Yeah, so like I have a friend in film school right now, and he has been on I think 5 short films now, which is impressive for his age.
That's awesome.
And he actually dropped one recently. It was a little comedy bit. It's like 2.5 minutes or 5 minutes or so. Hilarious. I'll send it to you. Just because with short films, if you less bad is good. You know,
Less bad is good.
Yeah,
Correct.
That. If I could give any piece of advice for short films, less bad is good.
That math checks out.
Like that's just how it works. And he did a good job.
He did less bad.
And he did less bad, 100%. And I texted him. I was like, dude, this is like phenomenal.
Yeah, because you couldn't tell even because we were with another videographer the other day who did a short film. I'll go unnamed, but like it was obvious there was some kind of budget. You know what I'm talking about? The one I'm not gonna like expose it, but is obvious there was some kind of budget behind it to the point where you're like the little things.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like the first scene comes on, something happens, and I looked at Cort and I was like, doesn't that just like sound like off to you? And it's like the small little things like not having good audio.
It'll kill you every
dude.
time.
It was as if they had recorded it like on an iPhone and then put like a music track behind it, and you're just like,
And you'll have to go back and watch the clip. We'll text you the clip, but somebody made a short film, and instead of putting their alarm clock on the right time, they put a timer. So
it's the little things like
all
that
those
that get
tropes of like short films. So we're trying to write around those mistakes in the beginning. But back to my point is he was on a bunch of short films, and he realized, well, I'm not that great of a director. I'm not that great behind the camera. Or he is good behind the camera, but other people are better than him. He's not insane with lighting, but script supervising he loves it.
Yeah.
That's maybe huge. It's not his thing, maybe it's not like, but he just fell in love with it, and now it is his thing because he's getting good at it. And I think film school helps you with that. Like, I hate film school. I think everyone who does it that's dumb. But at the same time, I can advocate for it because there is those paths that you can go down when it comes to writing. And at the end of the day, Luke has been convincing me of this because he's more ambitious on deadlines than I am. But getting out there and making something is better than trying to craft something so elite that like you stop yourself from making things. And that's the bottom line. Like film school, if you can afford film school, who cares? Go shoot something on a weekend. Like, doesn't matter. And I think that's what we're kind of trying to do.
Like, film school is great, but like YouTube universities today still is the best.
Still better.
It's the best university. Like, I went to
saves you so much money
you
too.
Go to college. I went to college basically in the same spot. Like,
Literally.
come on. Like, I still think the majority of my education with respect to college
and
you
still learn something from me.
100%.
Random stuff every time.
Things that you're like, how did I not learn this in any of my classes? Like, are you kidding? Like, ridiculous.
What was the thing that we literally did today that you were like, huh?
I don't know.
But last time it was like some cable thing, and then the other time, shoot, I can't remember.
I don't know. You showed me something that like blew my mind the other day.
Yeah, just like I see stuff that he's doing, and I'm like, you're doing that wrong. Here's how you do it. And then he's like, oh, okay. And it's just because I'm so anal about organization, and like, it's comical. Like, we balance each other out.
Yeah, it actually
really
is
well
perfect.
to a funny part. Okay, I think our camera's turning off. All right, let's hear that
LF horror stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was Arri Mini LF, which I love the camera.
It's a beast.
When it works, I love the camera. And I like this must have been like seriously the first one that came out of production, or sorry, the first 3 that came out of production because
wait,
we went
you just
through.
Owned it?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like,
no.
Who are you, Greg Fraser?
No,
Like,
no. These were all rentals. So like they hit the rental houses, and the rental houses are like, hey, we got the Mini LFs, rent them. And so we did, and we were doing like a television special. We were out of the state. We were like up in the mountains, and the first one that we had, because we had 3 for this week-long production, we had 3 Mini LFs.
Bro,
and the first one,
that's insane.
Like in the middle of recording, the camera would just shut down, and then or like the middle of the recording, the camera would just stop recording. And so after, and like these are like elaborate setups with like 20 buys and like a 30-person crew and like jibs and all this stuff.
For people who don't know what a LF is, that is literally like the camera that shot Oppenheimer, like on par with that.
It's like a $90,000 camera
Yeah.
body. And so our setup was cool. It was mini LFs with Cook S,
which is the best of the best. Like this is the best of the best setup.
the best of the best. Like each lens is like $50,000.
Yeah.
So Cook is Cook. The Cook look is a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we thought that our mini LF would be fine because the mini, like the Alexa Mini, which is older and it's Super 35 only and it's like a really small body, but the mini is rock solid. Like the mini will like never fail you. And we thought the mini LF would be really good. And the mini LF was basically the mini but large format, so much bigger sensor, open gate sensor.
How do megapixels work on that thing? Like,
I mean, like there's still a number for the megapixels, but it's not the way that you would like it's not like the way you would think of it in a photography sense. Okay. Because it's like, moving images instead of still images. So like,
right.
Like you're really just looking at resolution at that point.
How big is the resolution on
the mini LF? I think it was 6K. Like, cause I mean, it's been around for like a few years.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
I think the Venice 2 was the first like 8K in its class.
Like full frame
camera.
8K.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which, Red was doing 8K stuff, but Red's a whole different. But
anyway,
anyway,
how do you feel? We'll get into that in a second.
We'll get into that. So the first mini LF, the card, like the media writer, built into the camera was corrupt. It was having issues. So like the media just would stop writing, or it would corrupt and like short out the camera, and the camera would die. So the rental house, I'm not gonna name any names, but the rental house was awesome. They're like, hey, we're gonna like overnight you another one, and we're at 14,000 feet shooting, like in the middle of the mountains, like 5 hours from any airport. And the next morning we had another mini LF.
Like an Uber driver was like,
Yes.
I got a baggage,
Yes.
and they were like, that's our mini LF.
Exactly. And so the second one, we're like, I mean, these setups every day are like 5-hour setups with like a 20-person crew, like really big setups, and for what it was. And the second one, we're like in the middle of a scene, and the director's like, hey, we're like, our sun's changing, let's readjust all our lighting, let's drop in an ND. And the mini LF has an internal ND.
Thank God.
And so it starts rolling down and it gets stuck. Oh no. But like, what was funny is that we were cycling through all the NDs, because there's multiple NDs, and you get to the darkest one, and then it goes back to clear, and then you start over. And so we were on the darkest one trying to go to clear when it got stuck. So that camera was stuck at like a 10-stop ND. Like it's literally black. Like you can't see anything even with the daylight because it's so dark.
Oh my God.
And so we're like, all right, that sucks. And then so we get our third one, which was literally like hand delivered to us by the owner of the
Arnold
house.
and Richter themselves.
100%. Not them, but
They're
I
dead.
wish, yeah, long gone. But it was a little disappointing going through 3 mini LFs on a shoot that we were like really like looking forward to this being like a great camera. But what's funny is that our B camera, the entire shoot was a mini. And guess what? Guess what saved the day?
Yeah,
was the
literally.
mini. Like the mini was there,
That's
and like
crazy.
we're like, okay, this is what we're gonna use, and it was phenomenal. So that's my mini LF
Basically,
story.
you're selling us an Ari right now, because So what's the
This horrible camera. I'm just kidding.
Well, what's the no? That's I mean they're great though. What's the cheapest you can get? Is it 6,000 for the Alexa Mini, right? The oldest version.
I see minis going for like 20,000.
20,000.
Like on like eBay and Facebook Marketplace and that kind of stuff. I would say like the mini, like if you're already invested in Super 35 glass, and if you really like the look of the mini, and if what you want to do is the form factor of the mini, then I would say like that's not a bad $20,000 investment. But I feel like for $20,000 you can go a different direction.
You
Like you could go Sony.
You get a lot more lenses too.
You could get like 1 good Sony or like 5 good Canons.
Dang.
Just kidding.
I'll take my 5 good Canons and go home.
Heck yeah.
just the way you probably haven't seen this clip, but we were talking about the way that Canon feels in the hand. It's just it's unbeatable for me.
Feels good.
Yeah, it's just so nice. It's like holding
Sony's
a baby.
like clunky kind of.
Yeah, Sony
Yeah.
feels like
Like
a
rigid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
usually
feels
like
limiting.
professional tools they don't feel as good.
Whatever. Get out of here.
Uh,
Okay, so
I'm done.
let's talk full frame.
Yeah.
If you had to recommend one full frame camera for us to get for the rest of our lives,
Dude, honestly, like, this is going to sound like a bad investment because Sony just discontinued it. I think the FX9 is such a strong camera. There's a lot of people that are like, even recently on set, they're like, why so much camera body when like the FX6
yeah, because
basically
doesn't it have like
does
4 SDI ports and like 4 XLR outs?
It's got, I mean, okay, so it has 2 SDI outs, it has an HDMI out, it has 2 XLR ins, it has LTC like timecode out, and it has Genlock.
I don't know what that is.
So like LTC timecode is like what you would use to like timecode
Right.
jam that camera with other cameras. But Genlock is kind of an older system, and it's similar. Like it kind of operates the same way, but Genlock is very often used when you're like jamming a camera to the same system that's pushing out visuals to like a screen. So like if you were, like for example, if you're doing stuff on a volume stage where you have an LED wall and you have really fast moving backgrounds, like you're doing like a driving scene or something, and you don't have the camera gen locked to the processor or the media server that's pushing content to the LED wall,
Yeah.
it's gonna look really, really bad. Like
Okay, we're
your
getting
frames
nerdy
aren't gonna.
in here.
Yeah,
Holy
we're getting really
mackerel.
nerdy. Anyway, like your frames aren't gonna like line up exactly. You're gonna have some like
Yeah.
skip frames, some like weird like blurry frames.
Flicker stuff.
Yeah. Like Genlock kind of makes it all one. That's something that the FX6 doesn't have. Bigger production cameras like the Venice and those other ones, they have it because they're just bigger and they're more expensive.
Dang.
But the FX9, I really like the sensor on it because unlike the FX6 or the 3, it has the Venice 6K full frame sensor. So it records 4K. We're going to get really nerdy. Like
Yeah,
really,
this
really
is
nerdy.
this is a nightmare
But-
for the kid sitting with his kit lens at home right now.
Yeah. But for the rest of you, like when your camera says it shoots 4K, it doesn't actually, like it's not a true 4K image. Like, and if you look at like the Bayer filter on a 4K sensor, it's like there's not enough pixels on it to make a 4K image. But when you have a 6K sensor that's outputting a 4K image, it's called
Right.
downsampling.
Which
so
is
it's,
what the R6 II does.
Right. And so like downsampling, like cameras that can do that, like the FX9, like you said the R6.
R6 Mark II.
Wait, the
The
Mark
Mark
One
II?
can do it with the monitor though.
No, so okay, the Mark II 4K is downsampled 6K.
Mm-hmm.
So like our 4K that we're shooting right now is 4K.
It is, yeah, it's 4K.
No, I think it
It's-
actually is like 4K,
Like a true
but
4K?
it's not the downsampled.
Yeah.
4K.
Yeah, because
that-
it would have to be 4K because on the not Mark II, if you shoot with a monitor, you can shoot 6K.
yeah, because
Oh,
when
interesting.
we
So it must
yeah
be-
when we shoot with
Like
these,
a ProRes RAW kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
And when we shoot with the, it's actually a nightmare to edit with though.
It is.
Like
It is.
I think we shot our first episode on it,
and it's Premiere only, right?
I don't know.
No, you can do both.
Okay.
surely.
Yeah, you can definitely do both. But we literally sent that thing
Mhm.
straight into the garbage, and we switched cameras to mine immediately.
Mhm.
But when we're shooting on these 1.6s, our crossways, like our, I don't know, x-axis is 6144,
Okay.
and then 2160 up.
Oh, okay.
So like it's amazing.
Yeah.
But if we shot 8K on an R5C, it would be like 15,000 pixels across.
Yeah.
Which would be
Insane.
ungodly.
Yes,
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
So
Well, and I mean, their 1.3 is like you could put a 2x on there.
no,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah.
you're
And the
gonna have-
Siri adapter's only $300 for 2x. So that I'm
Yeah.
buying that immediately.
Yeah.
The only thing that I
Ultra
wish
wide.
that I knew was, this is horrible, but I shoot a lot of vertical content, and if I had gotten PL mount stuff, I could flip the anamorphic vertical and then shoot vertical anamorphic
and it'd be
shots.
yeah.
It
you
would
could.
look yummy. And
would look
everyone would be
interesting.
like, "What the dump? Like, what is this? What is going on?"
That'd be really funny.
That would be nuts. I think someone's brain would just fry if they were like, "You mounted your lens sideways? Like, how does that?" Even
Which is
work?"
funny because like with like normal spherical lenses in PL, that's a really common thing to do, is to put it on the PL 90 degrees. Like usually you put it, I mean, because your image is going to be the same, but whenever you're doing stuff in really tight spaces, or like it's on a really tight rig, or it's on a jib, and you have an operator on the ground that's trying to look and see what your millimeters at, like all of a sudden your numbers aren't on the sides, they're on the bottom. Also, when you have a whole bunch of motors in the way, like for for focus pulling, like you can't see what's on there. It's like really hard to see, like, and it's nice to be able to just like look over the camera and be like, oh, that's a 50, and I'm at T2.5, and I'm at, you know, whatever focus.
And that, kids, is why you don't shoot with a monitor or a follow focus or anything helpful, and you just be better.
No.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, at least get a camera that can de-squeeze.
I don't.
I know. You should.
At least he can do the.
Can you do like?
I don't even think the R5C
Can you do
de-squeeze.
focus peaking?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the
I
way
do
you
have
Okay.
focus peaking.
That's
He
good.
doesn't know how to do focus peaking without a monitor, and he's been asking me to teach him for weeks, and I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
But
I don't
it
need
also
to
has the
have
magnifying
monitor.
thing where you can zoom in
Yeah,
and see
okay,
your
that's-
eyes.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
nice.
helpful. But when I shoot like I'll shoot like fast moving stuff, no
Yeah.
monitor, just zone focusing like a film guy.
Like a film guy.
Like Joe Greer out here, just like zone focusing. My neck is like this because I'm
Yeah.
looking so close at my little viewfinder thing. It's gonna be rough. I'm shooting a rangefinder, but like
I
Basically.
just
for weak people.
just had to do that with no monitor because I was shooting a concert and like that would kill me if I had a monitor because I think I was doing video. But I tried to do it and I probably shot like 30 photos.
But
like
the one that
two
you
solid
shot
ones.
was so
It was a
good.
good one.
This is okay. I need to yell at Luke for a second.
Do
So
it.
Luke gets so many opportunities to shoot stuff because I work in Prosper, I don't take the opportunities. I would have the opportunities otherwise. But I don't want to drive 3 hours to Dallas for a
Sure.
10 p.m. kickoff
Right.
and then go to work the next day. So
Boo.
dude literally either skips concerts that are like huge and goes and shoots the worst artist ever, or
I
he
like my music.
or he shoots the best artist ever and doesn't know who they are. And like, if people knew the photos that you have sitting on your hard drive right now, they would actually want to kill you because they're like, oh my gosh, I've dreamed of shooting for this person, or even going to the concert in general for their
Yeah.
entire lives. And then the other day, last night, because we were up until like 2 a.m. watching the Lakers game. Fire
That's a
ending.
great
That
game.
was insane.
Basketball.
Yeah. Apparently I'm into basketball now. And I pull up and I'm like, are you kidding me? You shot Role Model? And he was like, yeah, like I hated it. I just went for the opener. And I was like, dude, what? And you probably don't know who it is, which is fine.
That's okay.
It's like a very Gen Z like artist right now. And not only that, but the Dallas leg of the tour was apparently like the biggest show for him because he brought out like all these people. And dude was like, yeah, I just went for the opener. Like I hated it. And like I left. Like I was going to leave
Are
immediately.
you just walking in, or are you like reaching out to them? Are you just
No.
like showing up and you're like,
no,
yeah, I'm
so
gonna shoot it?
Don't spoil everything. But
I almost spoil everything,
Yeah.
but I like get asked to shoot because I write with different publications. They get me in. But
so we figured out a way to do it a few
That's
years
smart.
ago, and we ride
Heck
the
yeah.
line of
yeah.
of suspect stuff. Like we've done some things that are questionable.
Dude, I will say like
one illegal
my
parking.
knowledge of like Dallas music venues though, I feel like infinite. now.
Unmatched.
Like
yeah.
unreal.
Like all the little venues.
I think I've been mostly like, I guess the little ones, but then mostly like the Live Nation ones are the
Yeah.
nicest. Like I think my favorite one though of all of them is definitely Majestic Theater. It's like
Bro, not
gorgeous.
Dickies. Shooting at Dickies is literally
Dickies
the,
is fun 'cause it's
the
big.
best
but like,
experience
Arena?
ever.
But
It's
have you been to the-
so big?
have you been to the Majestic though?
No,
It's
I
like
haven't.
an old Dallas like gold plated like stairwells. Like
it's very classic.
Right. yeah.
beautiful. And also like the people that play there tend to be like
goated.
goated. I
Yeah.
shot Buddy Guy, who's like a rock and roll Hall of Famer, and then the
The mariachi
Gypsy
band.
Kings, bro.
Yeah,
Who they're like I think they might be the most famous mariachi band of all time. And
one of them. For
I didn't
sure.
understand. Like, I don't speak Spanish, but like the best music I've
Which
ever
is why I'm so
witnessed.
mad, because like I do speak Spanish, and Skylar was like, "Oh, that's his fiance." She was like, "Oh, so you wouldn't understand everything?" I was like, "Yeah, I would have enjoyed it so much more than you guys did." Like,
Dude, they sang one song, Amarillo, and I was like, Yellow. Got that one, but that was it.
oh my gosh, get out of here! But like the amount of things that he shoots or skips, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like you could have at least texted me and been like, "Do you want this pass?"
Yeah.
Because like there is a way to do it where we switch like who's shooting. which is not good.
kinda-
But we're
Yeah,
also
kinda
not getting,
sketch?
well, we're not getting paid to do it, so it's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
just like,
Yeah.
but it's still super messed up. Okay, do you have any spiels that you want to go on for? So you know our audience. Our audience
Mhm.
is right now 80% men, which is hilarious because
Okay.
we started out with like 75% female audience.
What did you do?
I don't know.
Talked about gear.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we transitioned from like just like laughing to like being nerds.
Yeah.
And now our audience is 80% men. So I don't know if that says anything about nerds, but
Yeah.
whatever. So to the kid right now sitting at home, they just bought themselves a camera
Mhm.
or their parents bought them a camera and they maybe don't even have a 50 mil or it's all they got. What do you got to say to them? Like if they wanted to do what you do, what advice would you give them? It's a big question.
It is. It's a loaded one. So I'd say the first thing is just shoot as much as possible. Like we were saying earlier, just like every weekend, just go out and shoot something. You don't always have to have a vision, but getting out and shooting allows you to kind of craft your look. Like you'll figure out what it is that you do really well and where your weaknesses are. I'd say in like the film industry or like I guess specifically in my area, which is the more corporate commercial, there are a lot of young people that are getting into roles like first aid seeing, like focus pulling, art props, all that kind of stuff that are nailing it because they're doing it really early. So they're not starting their journey as like a first AC in their like mid 20s. They're starting at like 16.
That's awesome.
And there are so like YouTube University is obviously a fantastic resource, but the books.
What are you about to say? I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, books are especially for like the film industry that's been around for so long. There are so many like books on, like if you want to be if all you want to do is like a gaffer, key grip, or like grip and electric, like. A massive department in the film industry where like you could be like one of the largest departments on set. Like you could have like 20 guys in your team, whereas there's like one DP and like 2 camera ops. But getting in, like figuring out what you want to do and learning that and learning every single in and out of it can make you so valuable on set. Like you'll show up, you could be an 18-year-old and you understand like 3-phase versus 1-phase power and like how to properly do cam lock connections and like how to like, distribute power on set when you have like 18K, lights and HMIs and all that kind of stuff. Like knowing that stuff and knowing it early is so valuable because like once you get into one of those crews, like you're there, like you're
right.
locked in.
100%.
And like, whenever I go out and I hire,
be nice, but other than that,
yeah,
much.
yeah. Like whenever I hire like a gaffer, or like a key grip, I'm like, hey, we need 6 guys. Like pick your team. Like just bring your guys. And like it's the guys that go with them to every shoot, and they'll stay busy. Like they will work every single week, because it's like they got in early and they just found their people and did it. So, but I guess advice like don't underestimate books. Like there are books on like every single department in the entertainment industry,
especially since lighting and gaffing really hasn't evolved.
Oh yeah,
at
like
all.
the techniques of lighting have been around for like as long as cinema has been around.
That is the one textbooks I kept from college was my lighting textbook.
Dude, yeah,
I still
seriously.
go back to that.
And like there are so many departments in the industry. It can be really easy to just say I want to do all the things, and then you get to like you could be like 30 years old and be like, wow, I did all the things and I could have had so much more fun, more consistent work, and less stress if I just did one thing. If I just did the one thing that I like, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna like do all the things. So like, I guess don't overwhelm yourself with feeling like you need to do all the parts, because in like the professional film world, it doesn't really work that way. Like
not at all.
Like everyone has a job, and it's important to kind of find your thing and stick with it. Doesn't mean you can't do other stuff. Like I do, like I love being a grip sometimes because I'm like, this is such a break from creative. I just want to be told like, hey, move the stand here.
Yeah. The primal instincts of gaffing.
Yeah, yes. Seriously, like I love gaffing for people because it's like it's such a change from the artistic, creative, brain, you can kind of switch that off. So,
Well, you're welcome to set up our curtain anytime.
dude,
We can't pay you, but
I don't know if I can do it as good as you did.
our
I'll do it for
Amazon shower curtain or whatever that is. Hey, I mean that thing, it saved our butts.
Dude, I mean
several times.
that's basically like a 6x neg. Like,
yeah, no, it is.
yeah.
It totally is.
Matthews, that would be like $400.
Exactly.
Literally.
Well,
Seriously.
yeah. That's what's funny is, man, like we've used shirts as diffusion. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, we should get this like
Paper
a little more
towels.
softer. And I was like, do you have a bed sheet? Like,
Yeah.
it was.
If you have an HEB bag or a Walmart bag, it's like a half soft frost. You know, it's like
No way.
It's like I need a little bit more. I need a little bit more glimmer. Let's put a Walmart bag. over
And
this light.
styrofoam is the best.
It's the best bounce.
It's the best bounce
Mhm.
because it disperses the light so
Yeah.
like it does it.
Oh yeah,
It just makes it different.
yeah, 100%.
These are the little things that you can learn from books and going to the library
Seriously.
for once instead of
Yeah.
watching a TikTok video and saying you read an article
100%.
because that's a lie. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Luke, do you have any more questions?
Ask
think
away.
that's it.
Any burning thoughts?
He's how to organize your desktop.
Yeah,
Dude,
we'll
I'm
work on
gonna
that.
have to figure that out.
Well, I'm
soon.
probably gonna be here for another 2 hours helping him. So,
dude.
Heck yeah.
do you have any hot
Because
takes?
now
to
I'm
close
gonna have
this?
to go back and like organize. I'm not going to, but I should.
No,
go
you
back
There's
and
got to be
organize.
like a Chat GPT like integration into your desktop to like.
That would be.
Dude,
That's if I knew
Okay,
how to
this guy's got a
program,
big
dude.
I'm just.
brain, yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
bro, be thinking.
Get the right backers behind that. You're gonna be a rich man.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll close us out. We'll see you guys next week and go out and shoot until your heart's content.
That's right.
Goodbye.